निशु और राज रोशन, निशु एंड राज रोशन, तुम दोनों सबको इन्फॉर्म करो, ज्वाइन करने के लिए एक बार इन्फॉर्म करो तो सबको।
ओके सर।
Okay, so good afternoon to everyone. So I don't know why no others are joined till now. So let's start today's lab session. Yesterday I am not able to take the lab. So today in the lab we will see about the static routing. So in class we have already discussed some protocols. In the routing protocol we have discussed. So in today's lab we will see that there are the three types of routing present: static, dynamic, and default. So today we will see the static routing. So in today's class we will see the static routing. Now what we will see? We will see that between two routers, how static route or routing can be assigned, static route can be assigned, and how router works. And how router works, we will see that. And between two routers, how static routing can be assigned and how the router works, we will see that. So let's start the static routing. So for doing this, I will use this Cisco packet tracer. So you are familiar with this Cisco packet tracer used. So This is the Cisco packet tracer. Now in this Cisco packet tracer, so first what we will use, so first there will be the we will use a first go to this in the left side, and first we will use the switch. So from switch we will use the switch, and from switch we will select, you see, we will select here from 2950T, the switch that is 2950T, we will choose that. So like this, the first I created a switch, then another switch I will also use. So we will create two switches here. Now after creating two switch, so move it here. Now after creating two switch, we will create that there will be the two different networks. We want to show that the two different networks are present. Now how routing are taking place between them, we will see that. So first we have taken two switches for 2950T. We first put this button, the switch, we press this block, and from there we take 2950T switch. So switch 0 and switch 1, these two switches I have taken. Now from end devices, we are choosing some PC. Let's say this is a PC, then this is another PC, and this is another PC. Same as that, here also I have chosen a PC, then PC. So let's set that I have now in this is a network. We want to say that this is a network and this is another network. So for that, after that we will make the connections. So for making the connections, let's say from this switch to this PC, we have making the connection. Same as that, for here also we are making the connection. From here we are making the connections. Same as that, for this switch also we are making the connection. From this we are making the connections, and from here we are making the connections. So we are defining that there are two different networks. These are the two different networks we have created. Now what, this switch should be connected to a router. This both switch should be connected to the router. Now if we use a single router, and make connection, this two switches connection, if we point it to the single router, then it should be present in the same network. So that's why we want to show that they are on the different networks, they are present on the different networks. So that's why what we will do, we will put in the network devices, click on the network devices, and from the right side we will choose the last router, that is 2811. So we choose one router, this router we choose, this is a router, and another router here. So we have chosen two router. Now we will, same as that, we will make the connection. We will choose the, automatically choose connection and make the connections with this switch, and again make the connection with this switch, and we will do what, these two routers will communicate with each other. We will do this. So this is the total diagrams we have completed. Now what, we have to assign this, we have to assign these values. So what we will do, first we will start assigning the IP address of the, PC. So let's say I have used this IP address as 192.168, then 1.2. Okay, so this is the IP address I have to configure. So pressing this, we will go inside, and from here we will choose the field desktop, and from this desktop we'll go to the IP configuration. Now going to the IP configuration, we will put it here that it is IP address is 192.168.1.2. Now subnet mask will be automatically chosen. Now it is the class C type IP address. That's why it is showing 255.255.255.0. It is the class C type IP address. So the definitions of the IP addresses will in the class I will discuss that why subnet mask for class C is that 255.255.255.0. For class B, it will become 255.255.0.0. Then for class A, it will happen 255.0.0.0. I will explain it in the class. I will explain it. So now you only know that it is the class C IP address because it is starting from 192. So that's why the subnet mask will be looks like this, and this subnet mask will be automatically chosen. Okay. So now in the default gateway, we'll put the value as 1. Okay, so the default gateway value will be 192.168.1.1. So this will be the default gateway value. Same as that for all other PCs, I will do that. So let's say it will be 3. Then going inside, we have to configure. So I am doing the configuration here. So 3, then here they are going to the same network. So the default gateway will be same for all. Default gateway will be same because these 3 systems are in the same network. These 3 systems are in the same network. So 190, sorry. So I am renaming this as 192.168.1.4, and going inside, choose the desktop, then IP configuration, and from here I will put the values. The subnet mask will be automatically chosen. Here I will put the values. Okay, so now we will do what? We will from here, there is a note. You see, there is a thing that is place note. For place note, we will choose that place note. And from this place note, we will use it here. We will use it here. Okay. So here I am writing the default gateway address 192.168.1.1. Okay. 1. Okay. So you see what I did? I did that there are 2 interfaces present, F0 by 0 and F0 by 4. Now this interface F0 by 4, this interface is of this switch, but we want a default gateway. So for this FA0 by 0, I am saying that the default gateway address is present in this interface. So 192.168.1.1, this is the our default gateway of this network. So in this interface, I have assigned that 192.168.1.1. I said that in this interface, this IP address is present, 192.168.1.1. This IP address is present in this interface. Okay. Same as that here also the IP address I will assign. So let's say here in the IP address, this is the different network. This is a different network. So here I will use, let's say 192.168.2.2. Okay, so it is starting from 1. So here I have changed, it is 192.168.2.2 because this is the different network. This is a network and this is another network. So we will go here and assign the IP address. So the default gateway, let's say the default gateway is 192.168.2.1. This is the default gateway of this network. Same as that, here also I will go inside and I will assign the IP address. It is 3, so I have put the value 3 here, and the default gateway is same. So here also I will go here from desktop IP configuration and subnet mask. Now the default gateway I have used. So for this, all IP address have been configured, all of this system. Now same as that, here also in this interface, for this interface I will put, it is 192.168.2.1. Same as that. So here also it will be easy, otherwise you will have the problem for understanding. So let's say, now in these two interfaces, you see in these two interface, there is F0 by 0, the interface, the IP address contains it, the default gateway of this network. And in this interface, the IP address contain, in the interface, the IP address contain 192.168.2.1, means default gateway of this network. So this interface is of router 0 and this interface is of router 1. So in these two interfaces, this default gateway of this network and default gateway of that network is present. So now what we will do, now you see there is another interface present. For this, there is another interface. Here also there is another interface present here. So what we will do here, we will rename it as a, giving the name, let's say 10.1.1.1. This is a given IP address, and here also let's say I've given 10.1.1.2. Okay, so in this two interface also this IP address is present. So why I am using this, I will explain. When I will explain this, that's why I am using these two interfaces. So after that, now we have to configure. So after doing this, we have to do the configuration. Now the main part, configuration, has to be done. So we configure. So we will open the notepad now. So we'll open the notepad. So after writing this in the notepad, we will copy it into here. So I will open the notepad. So in the notepad, I will write the code, and after writing the code, I will put it into the router. So in the code, what I will write in the code, first, we all know that en is to be used for enabling. So from going from user mode to the privilege mode, we use en, enable. Enable command we already used, that it is going from user mode to the privilege mode. Then after enable, what we do, we use config t. So this is used for what? For going from privilege mode to the configuration mode. This config t is used. After
Sir,
that, let's say I have to, here it is router 0, it is
sir, Sir, your
Hello?
notepad is not showing.
Notepad is not showing.
No, sir.
1 minute. Now it is showing.
Yes, sir.
Oh. So now, first en command is used for the enable command from user mode to the going from user mode to the privilege mode. We use en command. Then after that we use what config t. This command is used. Now for what reason this command is used? This config t command is used for going from privilege mode to the configuration mode. We use this command. Now we want to change the host name. So we want to change the host name. For what we will do, we will use the command host name. Let's say I am giving the name R1. Now we are doing this first, we are doing for first router. In second time, we will do for the second router. So this configuration which I am writing, this is for the first router. So that means the router name will be changed and it will show as R1. It will show as R1. So host name first router, for this first router we are doing. So it will change and the name will be shown as the R1. Okay. So next what we will do, it will be interface. So first here, what is the interface present for this? Now here the interface is fa 0 by 0. So that means my interface is EINT f 0 by 0. Okay, this interface we are taking. So it is f 0 by 0. Then I will add IP here. So for doing this, what command will be used? IP add. This command is used, IP add. Now in this interface FA 0 by 0, it is only shown, but the configuration has to be done. So that means in this particular interface, we should include this IP address. So that's why we have gone first, use the int f 0 by 0. We go to that particular interface, and inside this interface, we are adding the IP address. So IP add 192, that is 168.1.1. Okay, so this is the address. So this IP address we are assigning into this interface. So and the default gateway is 255.255.255.0. Okay, so after that no sh command is used. So no sh command is what? No shutdown. No shutdown is what? At first time our ports are always down. So no sh command is used for up the port. For up the port, we use no sh command. So this command should be used because in default our all ports are down. So we have to up this port. For up this port, we will use the no sh command. Now after that, now there is another interface. You see, this is another interface. Now this interface, in this f0 by 1, this is another interface, and in this interface the IP address present is 10.1.1.1. So that means same process we have to do again. Same process we have to do. That means what we have to do? We have to, same way we have to add this. Same way we have to add the IP address to the interface. So let's say I copy this. Now this is what FA 0 by 1. So this is FA 0 by 1. Now what is the IP address? The IP address is 10.1.1.1. So this should be changed. What? 10.1.1.1. Okay. Then now this is what 10. So that means it is the class A IP address. 10 means it is the class A IP address, because from 0 to 127 we have the IP addresses range. So this IP addresses range I will discuss, but till now it is, you see that there is 10 shown. That means what? That means it is the class A IP. This IP address contains in the class A. So that's why in class A IP address, for class A IP address, the subnet mask will be 255.0.0.0. So this will be for class C, this happens, but for class B, the subnet mask will become 255.0.0.0. Okay, and we are using class A IP address. That's why it become like this. Now, this configuration I have done for the first router. Let's say this configuration I have done for the first router. So I will copy this, I will copy it, and going to the first router, we will go to the CLI tab. So we'll click to the CLI tab, and this will be opened. This window will be opened, but it is written, would you like to enter the initial configuration dialog? So we will put no. Okay. So now what we have copied, we'll paste here. So that means you see the host name. Yes, the host names have changed. Host name, it becomes R1. So in configuration, this has to be done. So no shut down, then this are added. Okay, so totally we have done. So now we want to see that the what happened, we want to see. So for this, what we have to do, we will use end command next. Then again, after using end command, we will go out from the configuration mode using this end command. Now this is config if, that means we are in this time, we are in the configuration mode. We are in the configuration mode, so we have to, if we use this command, we have to go outside the configuration mode. So here I will write, for showing this IP, so sh IP int beer, show IP interface brief. That is the command sh IP int beer. So now you see that in 0 by 0, this port, in this interface, 0 by 0, the IP address 192.168.1.1 is added, and it is okay, and the method status manually up. That is why no sh command is used. That means the port is up now. And in 0 by 1, the IP address 10.1.1.1, this IP address is assigned, and it is also okay, and the port is manually up. So it is correctly done. So after that, what we will do, we will use the wr command. Now why we will use the wr command? Wr command will be used for wr command. Why we will use the wr command? This wr command we use for our saving portion, for saving purpose. So for building the saving the configuration, we will use the wr command. So after the wr, we save it. So the configuration we make is saved now. Okay, so the first portions we have done. So now let's move to the second portion. So for second portion, for the second router, we will have to make same configuration. Like this, we have to, for second router, we have to make the configuration. So for this, we will again, let's say we'll copy this. Now this is the configuration for the second router. This is the configuration for the second router. So the name will change as R2. Let's say the name I will change it as the R2. So here also interface F0 by 0. So here also it is interface F0 by 0. And here the IP is what? 192.168.2.1. So it will become 2.1. No shutdown. Then F0 by 1, 10.1.1.2. So it will become like this. Okay. So this is what it will become. So no shutdown. Okay. So that means the configuration is also done in this F0 by 0. This is this port, this IP address have been assigned. You see in 192.2.16.2.1, this IP address is assigned in this interface, and this IP address is assigned in this interface. So we will again copy it and go inside the router 2. We will go here and press no, enter, paste it. So okay, it is done. So we will put end command, go outside and use the command show IP int br, show IP interface brief. So briefly we'll see, yes, they have been added. So okay, same as that for this also, we'll build the configuration and save this configuration here. So this configuration has also done. So now let's say this name, we change it as R1, and here also for this we changed it as the R2. Okay, so two routers name have been changed. So after changing the name, now we will see that how is it possible that these two systems in the different networks are communicating with each other. Is it is possible? So now we didn't use the our static routing. So we didn't use the static routing concept till now. So first we will see that is it possible that if they are in the two different networks and they can communicate with each other without using the static routing, we will see that. So first let's say we go from this PC and we want to ping. So ping in another system that is present on the different network. So 192.168.2.4. So let's say we are want to ping this system. Now this system is present in the different networks. So for pinging this, what we will see here now, you see it is showing destination host unreachable, because you send then request then destination host unreachable. From other also we want to see, you see here destination host unreachable. So that means all the packets we have sent are lost, because we didn't till now we didn't use the static routing concept. So if we didn't use the static routing concept, the router doesn't have this router doesn't have informations of this network. This router only has the information of this network. So that means in the same network they can communicate. Okay, there is no problem. But it is of the different networks. So this router doesn't have the information. Doesn't have the information is there is another router or there is another network present. It doesn't have any information. So that's why when we try to pinging this, it is showing that the destination host is unreachable. That's why it is showing the destination host unreachable. So to solve this problem, what we have to do now, to solve this problem, we have to use a small changes, a small command we have to use. Now here, what we will do, we will use IP root. We will use IP root. This command will be used, IP root. Now, in the root, you have to mention in the root you have to mention the other router network address. Now, this router default gateway address is what? We have the default gateway address of this network is 192.168.2.1. So this is the default gateway address of this network. But in the case of IP route, we have to use the network address. We have to use the network ID. So the network ID will be what? It is same as the address will be same as the default gateway address. Only here we will use 0. Only here instead of 1 we will use the 0. So this will be what? This is the network ID. This is the network ID of this network. This is the network ID. So same, we will first same, only instead of 1 the network ID is 0. Okay, so the network ID will be 192.168.2.0. Use the default then subnet mask, that is 255.255.255.0, and after that this interface should be used. This interface we have to use here, because now R1, why we are using this? Why we are using this? We have to, this portions we have to write. Because if R1 has to send some packet, if R1 has to, R1 means what? This router. So if this router has to send some packet to this network, then how it will know? Then it will send what? It will send in the network ID. The packet has to be sent into the network ID. That means network ID means we want to go in the our total default gateway address of this network. We want to go there. And for sending it, the packet has to be sent. The packet has to be sending. We need this IP address. So if R1 has to send some packet, it has to be sent to the network ID. If R1 wants to send some packet, it has to be sent to this network ID. And this network ID is what? 192.168.2, and in case of network ID it will be 0. So the network ID becomes 0. And after that the subnet mask, I will use the subnet mask and the another interface IP address, another interface IP address. So 10.1.1.2. So this should be used. Now, if we use this, that means from R1, from R1 we can communicate with all these systems. Now, R1 router will able to know that there is a network present, and this network contains the network ID 192.168.2.0. That means all of the systems that IP address will contain with starting 192.168.2, all the IP address starting with this will be present in this particular network ID. That's why it will able to send all the, it will know that this particular, from the particular some systems IP address starting with 192.168.2, it will present in this particular network ID 192.168.2.0. So all of the systems will be present in this